All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. Hopefully everyone has grabbed their morning Starbucks coffee in preparation for this session. We all have ours, clearly. But yeah, really looking forward to kind of just a conversation on some great innovation that Starbucks is driving today. So anyway, with that, I'm here with Venkat, who leads customer and partner solutions for Starbucks. Prazer, who's the general manager, SVP of Comcast Business. Todd, who leads all things tech in retail for Starbucks. And Bryan, who is the product strategy expert for MachineQ, which is a Comcast company really focused on IoT, which we'll spend a lot of time talking about today. So I want to dive right in and really turn it to you, Venkat, to talk through some of the customer, employee experiences that you're looking to really drive real business impact and some of the use cases you guys are thinking about at Starbucks.
Thank you, Emma, and thank you for having us here. So, you have been to the Starbucks downstairs, and usually when you're at Starbucks, in a place like this or any Starbucks, there's a long queue. We don't want you to wait in the queue. And so if you start out with the queue, and we don't want you to wait in the queue, and I flow it back, it's a lot of different things, right? The first one is we are a company built on connection. So you come there, you buy a beverage. 60 to 70% of our beverages are customized. So we want you to customize your beverage. We want you to get the beverage you want, and we want you to come back every day. But that means we can't pre-make like other food service providers. We can't make it and keep it, right? The clock starts when you show up in the store. And so we don't want you to wait, but we don't want to stress out our partners, the baristas who are there. We want them to give the time to breathe. And we also want them to talk to you, connect with you. So if you look at the whole thing, that is one part of the thing, the human element of it. And the other part is we lease a store for 15 years. We lease a property for 15 years, and our business grows 4 to 5% every year. So most of our stores were set up 15 years ago, and we are out of capacity. So how do we create capacity in existing stores? How do we make you wait for a shorter amount of time? And our menu is essentially defined by all of you. We put about 52 beverages on our menu. By the time you customize it and you get what you want, it's about 2,500 items on the menu, right? So that is the overall challenge that we are trying to solve.
Yeah, that's a great example because everybody has their very specific Starbucks order, and so lots of customizations. Todd, how are you kind of seeing that play out in the in-store environment, and specifically just thinking about all the data that you have coming in? What's the role of data in that in-store environment?
Yeah, first off, it puts a ton of pressure on the tech that we already provide for the stores, the scale that it drives, and we're pushing into a ton of new areas, right? So we've always run traditional infrastructure in stores, connectivity network, but now with IoT, we've got new capabilities like LoRa. We're getting into centralized device management, so instead of just dedicated devices and compute and that sort of thing, we're taking the edge journey as well. We're also inventing, in many ways, our teams are working together to invent new hardware types, new capabilities, to enable all the stuff that he wants to do with the equipment. So with data in particular, I think the journey is kind of early with us. With a lot of these early implementations, we know exactly what data we want and what we want to do with it, like temp sensing. But as we light up more IoT streams, as well as all of the other traditional telemetry we have with retail equipment network, how do we learn from all of that data together? That's a very early stage for us. That's going to give us insights for what to do, how to build better stores, operate stores better.
Yeah, that's incredible. And it seems like, just the data that you have at your disposal is probably just such a business advantage as well. So that's great. How about you, Prazer, in terms of thinking about, retailers that you work with, what are some of those big trends that you're hearing about, both kind of customer facing and also employee facing?
Yeah, I think across the board, retailers, whether it's in the food and beverage, vertical of retail, hospitality, doesn't matter. The two things, either grow top line revenue or drive costs out of the business, right? I mean, that's it. At its basic form, that's what everybody's looking to do. So how can technology help with that? From a top line, and if you take it down a step further, it's either the customer experience, it's the store itself, or it's the employee engagement. So back of the house, front of the house, side of things. So when you look at that and you go, okay, what is the decision making? So you start looking at how to grow basket size to grow top line revenue. If you're a C store, you're going, how do you take somebody from a gas pump who's out there, how do you bring them into the store? How do you use technology to say, hey, you just fill gas, here's a 20% coupon, come in and do that, right? So it's a conversion. Using technology, using data to drive decision making. When it comes to employee engagement, it's all about saying, are you set up correctly? Is there labor allocation that can drive that? Can you be more efficient? We've talked about, Venkat, and Todd, last night we were talking about labor shortage. There's a war on labor. No matter what you want to do, there is a labor shortage. So can you use technology? Can you use data? Can you use AI? Can you use these tools to say, here is better decision making and staff appropriately? So Comcast provides not only the AI, video analytics, Wi-Fi analytics, but we also provide the networking that resides it all in a really secure and managed services perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just incredible to kind of think about how all those different technologies have to come together for that seamless, customized customer experience. So turning the conversation a little bit to technology, we recently worked with Starbucks on a large IoT deployment, 9,000 plus stores, really focused on kind of food safety, compliance. Venkat, kind of what was the impetus for that and really the need that you saw for IoT in your stores?
So going back to what I said earlier, we want our baristas to just focus on customizing your beverages and connecting with the customer, connecting with you, knowing your name, knowing what beverage you like, and making it to your liking, right? But if you go into a retail store, there are so many other things they have to do other than facing the customer. So how do you enable it, right? So one of the nagging things is that if you're in the food service industry, an average store has about 12 places where you store food. And if you're a food service, you have to maintain all below 40 degrees because of food safety. So that means my partner in the store has to go and temp about 15 refrigerators in a day, twice a day. How long does that take? It takes roughly about 25 minutes a day, right? Is 25 minutes significant? We have 34,000 stores. It is a significant amount of time, right? So now you go back and say, I've seen presentations out of presentations on, yeah, it's easy, right? You put a sensor and you can sense temperature of these refrigerators and you can read it. But guess what? Everything looks feasible and great in a trade show and on PowerPoint, okay? But when you get into reality, think about it. We have been in business for 50 years. If you go into a store, average life of a refrigerator is about 5 years. Okay, it is a metal box. Okay, so what do you do with a metal box? How do you take the temperature of a metal box inside? So that is when we started search. We took about 2 years to figure out, okay, how do you get a signal out of a metal box? How do you put a sensor in? And how do you make the sensor stay? So we narrowed on LoRaWAN because the frequency was low enough so that I could get it out, right? I could get the signal out of the box. I could put it inside the box. And then I'm holding the sensor in my hand. You see this, you see a chain hanging from it. We had to think of everything, right? You put the sensor in. So if you rip apart the sensor, initially we had a tape behind. Can you just stick it to the refrigerator door? No, in your home, you stick things to the wall. As the temperature changes, it falls off. Okay, we have delivery people who come in the middle of the night and who put food in. You spend millions of dollars deploying the sensor, and then one delivery, they knock off the sensor, and then you're done, right? And then you have to roll a truck. And a truck roll costs us $300. So that is where we started, and our partnership was, okay, how do you do this? Because it's easy to say to do it, but how do you do it? And we wanted to do it within a year. We have about 9,500 company-owned stores in the US. How do you go in and do it? and how do you make it feasible, and how do you do it within a year? So that is the story of our partnership with Comcast. It seems very simple, but by the time you deploy it in 9,000 stores in 50 states, it's an enormous effort. And get back the data and make it useful, put it in an app and make it useful so that the store manager can look at it. They don't have to read temperature. So that is the story of our effort with Comcast.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah.
I'm out just hearing that we got to change our marketing strategy. No more PowerPoints.
Yes, on it for sure. Bryan, as kind of a resident, IoT expert, technology expert, just break down the technology for us. Some of these use cases that Venkat talked about, but also just the importance of kind of that technology infrastructure in the context of IoT.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It was a great intro from Venkat, so I want to make sure I don't duplicate the plug, but thank you. So, our journey with Starbucks started many years ago, and it was around data, as Todd said. How do we make it more economical to get more data out of the store? And so bringing our skills to the relationship, building on Comcast's legacy of building networks for scale, we recommended a LoRaWAN network for all their stores. And really, it's a dedicated network for IoT that's designed to connect thousands of stores as economically as possible. And as Venkat says, it's really well-founded. Put one of these in a metal fridge, goes through a couple walls, reaches that gateway. Don't worry about RF, simple, turnkey, easy to deploy. And so where we came in is not just the technology, but the wherewithal to deploy that with Comcast Business. And as Venkat said, we deployed over 9,000 stores in 9 months. That was putting the wireless infrastructure in and putting on average 12 of our devices in every store. So now with that fully deployed, our devices are sending that temperature data every 15 minutes, roughly 300 plus million data points a month. And that fuels all the automation and the temperature control. So not only does it save all that barista time, it's also sending real-time alerts when anything goes out of spec in any of the Starbucks stores.
Yeah, no, it's a great way to put it. Todd, one of the things we've talked a lot about is sort of this importance of scalable solutions, but also turnkey solutions when you think about the technology that you put in your stores. So talk a little bit more about that. How do you think about what tech you're going to put in your locations?
Yeah, I think first, when there's something emergent, disruptive, we may not have experience with it, it's net new to the market, it's a great example of something we might look for turnkey. It also allows us to go quick and learn really fast from it, which is the point. How does it work in our environment with all the other tech that we have, the processes that we have? How do we learn how it can become something that's foundational or standard for what we want to do in the future? But turnkey makes a lot of sense when we're inventing and doing something brand new and emergent to us. But we're also looking for, solutions that'll help us scale for the long term. So I'd be looking, when I can, for open systems versus closed systems. Are the capabilities and components in there I can leverage for the future, like LoRa in this case? We wouldn't want to have to invent that ourselves or build that ourselves. Why do that? It's not a core competency. So we want the full end-to-end packaged capability. In this case also, we were looking for end-to-end with, the electrical, the mechanical, the data management in and out, as well as deployment and support, which with Comcast's experience with us, we consume circuits from you. It felt like and looked like the right direction, and it was. So.
Yeah, awesome. So Venkat, one of the things when we were kind of chatting about this earlier, you had a really nice way of how you think about connectivity and connected devices and sensor technology and how it all has to work together. So can you break that down for the group here on sort of how you think about the evolution of connectivity?
Yes, so we had this discussion before. So connectivity, right? I get, when I was made part of this forum, right, I got, I think, about 1,000 LinkedIn requests to talk to me and this thing. And, most of the people are talking about connectivity with me on, want to connect on software or infrastructure or the app or analytics, right? But then, so if you look at the way we look at it, there are 4 segments, right? There is the app, there is the data server, everything that Todd does, right? And that is the easier figured out part, right? Then the next part is we collect a lot of data which is manual, and that is what is the temperature sensing we're talking about here. There's a lot of static data that we acquire to keep a store running or to keep our business running. That is not figured out yet. It's a big opportunity. Okay. The third part of it is machines, right? We have a lot of machines in our store. the core of our business is the food and beverage equipment. Okay, and those need to be connected. And I think as of today, we have about 50,000 endpoints, 50,000 machines connected in our stores in the US. So are the machines performing? More from a performance, right? Because if the machine downstairs breaks down, then I'm losing revenue. Every minute it's broken down. Do I need to roll a truck? How fast can I? That is the third connectivity. And the fourth connectivity, which we haven't figured out yet, is how do we make the point of sale system or my order system to talk to my individual machines? Because think about it, right? We serve 100 million customers every week, and every customer is on an average ordering 2 items. So there are 200 million items, okay? Every time there is an order that comes through, my barista is going and pushing a button on a machine. A button press takes 4 seconds. So you multiply 4 seconds by 200 million items every week. That is the amount of time somebody is pushing buttons. I would prefer that the 4 seconds, you take the 4 seconds and they smile at you and talk to you and pushing buttons. That is an area we haven't figured out yet. So there's a lot of opportunity. Other than apps and servers and all the things that Todd does, there's a lot more opportunity.
That's another marketing campaign. No more pushing buttons. Just
buttons, yeah.
Stop the pushing buttons. So, Peraza, you're kind of sitting in the middle of a lot of this with customers. If you think about Comcast Business providing managed services, managed Wi-Fi, all the tech infrastructure, and now with MachineQ IoT. So what's your take on kind of why Comcast Business, MachineQ together are so well positioned to solve some of these client needs?
I think it starts with just having a conversation like, what Venkat and having and Todd that we had. Well, first it starts with understanding the customer's needs. Understanding the customer. What are the business outcomes to look into? What are the challenges they're facing? And then we strategize, we come together as a business, as partners to say, well, here's where we are today, here's where we're heading tomorrow. So how can we build a scalable infrastructure to support those needs? So that's literally the first step. Then we get into further discussions saying, well, what are you looking for today, but 5 years, what are the applications that will ride the network? Where are we moving with technology? Venkat just talked about 3, he's still trying to solve for the 4th, right? So what demand does that put on the network? So you can do everything you want when it comes to IoT, Wi-Fi, analytics, but without the network, nothing's possible. It starts there. So Comcast is in a great position to provide connectivity. So that's a foundation layer. You start layering on things that you need to. So now you go with MachineQ, which is a Comcast business company, you bring them on and say, well, customers are looking for IoT and making decisions through data. So back to my original statement about how do we help clients grow top-line revenue or drive costs of the business. If we can help Venkat stop pushing buttons, that's a win, right? We have clients who have thousands of locations as well, and they're looking at labor allocation, but they're also looking at, are we staffed adequately? We do that, so why guess when you can have data-driven decisions? Walking through a store, which is the right way, how many customers are lingering, is there wasted time, wasted productivity? We can go on and on. So those are the business outcomes. So we sit with clients to understand that and drive solutions based on the business outcomes needed for the clients. So we provide the network, we provide video analytics, we provide Wi-Fi, we provide the sensors through IoT. So it's an end-to-end turnkey solution, and here's the best part. It's not a one throat to choke. I hate that. It's one back to pat. So we can do it all with SLAs right across the board.
Yeah, one-stop shop, as they say. So would love to just talk about results and sort of the outcomes that you're seeing. You set out to really have this great achievement. What are you actually seeing? How's it paying off, this investment in MachineQ and Comcast Business?
On the investment and, for IoT, it's... I can say we deployed a lot of IoT on our machines, and we did this with MachineQ. We actually didn't do a business case, or we didn't do a financial payback. Because for us it is, you can do the back of the envelope, and then we made a decision to roll it out, right? Because it makes... So results are, whenever I visit a city, like yesterday and today I'm in New York City, I go to all the stores. So I wake up early in the morning at 6 a.m., I visited 2 stores, Starbucks stores. Evening, I'll go to 3 more stores. The results are what my store managers tell me. And the store managers are thrilled because They have gone beyond, using thermometers to record temperatures and maintain logs of them, to where they actually know, did power go out in the night? Do I need to throw away the food? What do I need to do? Because now they are getting real simplified layman language, instructions on what they should do. And they're all thrilled because they don't have to go back and record it. When the food inspector, we get food inspection every other week, right? They can walk in any time. Now they don't have to scramble to find records. So those are the results, right? For us, that's what matters. The money and the payback and the tech and all is great. But at the end of it, the store managers, each of our stores, they're running a $2 million business. They're 18 years, 19 years old, and they have a lot to do. So if you can take one thing off their plate, that is a great result.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Todd? What would you say is kind of the aha moments or some of the results that you're hearing in the in-store environment?
I think one thing that surprised us was just how well you all weathered pandemic. And so I work with dozens and dozens and dozens of providers and tech partners, and supply chain manufacturing was a hit almost universally, and you were one that weathered that pretty well. So we were impressed with that. All the other things we were looking for from that turnkey kind of end to end worked out well, but that was a nice bonus as well on top of it.
Yeah. And Bryan, you work with a lot of restaurants, a lot of retailers. What are some of the other kind of results that you're seeing across the board, and that really the business outcomes that you're helping clients drive?
Yeah, as Venkat mentioned, being able to take that time back from the baristas to focus on the customer experience is really valuable. And I think with IoT, that's where we'll see that it's easiest ROI. Can you save that time? What's that payback? And so temperature sensing is one easy thing, but I think we'll continue to see things that automate workflow in the retail environment. And we have some interesting ideas that we're testing with Starbucks, but that's I'd say the easiest theme and has the clearest ROI. You don't need a massive financial analysis and a huge Excel spreadsheet to make that make sense for a business. Beyond that, what I think is kind of unique about the relationship we've built is we've been doing what we do best, build and deploy networks at scale and provide all that data to the Starbucks team. We've learned a lot over this deployment. We want you to be the experts on that application. We didn't try to force fit an application to your store managers. Todd's team was able to take all that data, ingest it, and push it into the store environment for your applications. I think that's what made it successful too, is we didn't try to reinvent the wheel and redo a bunch of workflow planning to get this out in the store. So kudos to the team, and I think we'll continue to see that theme portray as putting that data to you and helping you do innovative solutions.
And I think back to that reusability, there are capabilities in the stack that we're able to, because they're open, we're able to leverage and move on now, and I don't have to deploy another LoRaWAN network for each new use case that comes in. We can build on it, so that's a great outcome.
Yeah, that's good.
The other thing to think about, right, for the audience here, Starbucks is a big company, right, $32 billion. Comcast is a huge company, $117 billion, right? It's like two elephants dancing, right? But the magic of it is the two elephants did dance, right, last year. So from the start, when we said go, all the stores deployed all over the US, did it in 12 months. We got the lawyers to do the contracts. We issued the PO. Comcast rolled the trucks. We got into all stores, opened the refrigerators, put the sensors in, got the connectivity, and got the data to the store managers. That is something that I don't think has happened before.
And if I just may echo on that, so yes, I will absolutely clap on that. But I think it starts with a trust and partnership, and that's why I went back to the original statement, which is say you need to come with the client, understand why. Why is it a one-year turnaround? What are the ROIs? Why are we doing this? So the trust and partnership is built up front, but then you have to commit and you have to deliver on your commitments, because ultimately the proof's in the pudding, and that's based on the partnership between Starbucks and Comcast. That's what kind of drove the relationship forward. So thank you for that.
Trust and partnership, and two large elephants, but very speedy ones. They're fast, so that's good. Want to just kind of spend some time kind of thinking ahead, and if you imagine sort of we're sitting here a year from now at next year's NRF, what do you kind of think will be the things we'll be talking about? Like what's really to come, and what's going to be kind of the signature trend of 2023? Maybe start with you, Bryan.
I think with Starbucks, many other retail environments, they've deployed one or two IoT use cases. They've seen that ROI. They're comfortable with it. They know it's scalable. But now it's taking all that data and creating new innovative solutions on top of it. So gathering that physical data from the real world, putting in a cloud, how do you combine that data, come up with innovative solutions? I think that's where we'll see the most unique value is, can you take back of house data, front of house data, and extrapolate from that? And that's where I think, Todd, your team's really well positioned to make those inferences and create new solutions on top of that data.
Okay. Todd, what do you think?
1 year from now. Well, I think we're on a march towards what I would call like the reactive and is just the advanced smart store concept. We're lighting it up in pieces, but folks operating in that environment that's responsive to them. I don't know if we'll hit there in a year, but we'll continue to work towards that. I think of the store like a little nano data center, except that I have thousands of them and not a few big ones, right? But they have to work with what we do in the cloud. Everything's hybrid in terms of what's deployed, store and outside. So, a fully cohesive kind of tech ecosystem and that kind of smart, responsive store in the future.
Yeah. Great. Razer?
I think COVID and the pandemic pushed more and more to push us all towards being a little bit uncomfortable and more move towards contactless. So I think that trend will continue with contactless everything. It's also good business decision making where get people in and out quicker, etc. So you'll have that. But I think as you look at the financial verticals as well, that you'll see more of biometrics, ATMs having biometrics built in, scanners, etc., to kind of drive that, more security. And then you'll see a tend towards video analytics using that. So I think more automation, AI, machine learning, all the buzzwords, but everything circles around security. Without that, that's going to be even a harder focus moving forward.
Yeah, similar to connectivity. It's like security's at the core of everything, and all these new sensors, all these new touch points, like security has to be key to everything that we do. And Kat, what do you think? What's the next big thing?
So I am the low tech person in this group, right? Because I deal with machines, coffee machines, and ovens and all that. So I think I know 10 years ago, I attended CES and we were talking about IoT. We're still talking about IoT now. But I think now is the time. I think the best way to say it is, at least for Starbucks, we have set up the plumbing for IoT. So the plumbing we have set up, right? So we have connectivity. We have all the router boxes that we need in our stores. So we can have low latency, high latency. We can connect devices to LoRaWAN. We can connect devices through Wi-Fi. So even the basic connectivity. We have figured out how to maintain devices connected above 95% because we said, we are doing IoT, we all celebrated, and next day you look at the dashboard, about 60% of the devices are connected. So we went from 60 to 95%. So we got the plumbing, we're getting water in our house. Now we have to figure out the next stage. Hopefully next year we can come back and talk about, we have a hot tub and it works. Something which is a major application, because currently it is very basic, right? We save 15 minutes a day. We know when my coffee equipment is working or not, or do I need to roll a truck or not. We are at the very basic level. But we are proud of that, right? We've got about 40,000 endpoints for Wi-Fi. We've got LoRaWAN. We've got more than 100,000 endpoints. We have covered all our stores. And hopefully next year we'll be able to come and talk about some of our learnings and how we benefited from it.
Yeah, well, looking forward to that. I think it will be a great conversation next year. We wanted to end a little bit early and invite everybody to come up and ask any questions you have directly to the panelists. So feel free, right when we close, to come up and ask any questions. And thank you all for joining. Thank you, especially to our panelists, for the great conversation. And looking forward to the rest of the conference. So thank you, everyone.